name of my story is called The Flag Still Flies. 25 years ago, and we're coming in on 25 years ago, I was a young airman in the Air Force stationed out in Tacoma, Washington. It was a few days after Thanksgiving. It was rainy, foggy. We launched 4 airplanes that went on a mission over eastern Washington, Idaho, Montana. It was an aerial refueling mission. And somewhere about 6:30 in the evening, got a phone call or a radio broadcast or a transmission, and said that we had planes that were missing. And they didn't know what happened. And so suddenly the whole community of aircraft maintainers start to gather, and they start asking questions, and we're all puzzled, and we're waiting for the word. And about 8 o'clock, we had, in the fog, 2 planes landed, taxied in, and there was a bus that took the air crew off the airplane and shuttled them into a briefing room. And it's a really odd feeling when you are part of a crew that launches an airplane out and it doesn't come back. It's a really odd feeling. The events that night, up until maybe about 5 years ago, were pretty murky. All we knew that 2 planes had collided, and we lost 13 airmen had passed away in that mid-air collision over Montana. There was only one picture that I ever saw about the crash, and incredibly very few details, scant details. Personally, I was questioned because I was part of the crew that launched the plane out that night, and I also worked on that exact plane the night before. So I spent the next 19 and a half years wondering what the hell I might have done that could have potentially have caused 13 people to die in a plane crash. Now, we were told that it was an accident, that it was a training accident, and it was pilot error. But being a guy that works on flight control systems and avionics and navigation equipment, you start to wonder, what if? When it haunts you. And it tears you apart. And every November, as that date comes closer, you start to panic. You start to feel that gnawing, that sensation of just terror. And I spent quite a number of years suffering from that. 6 years ago, I had a medical situation. I was in the hospital for a number of weeks, and I lost some time in there where I was unconscious and not really with it. When I came out of that, a lot of things had happened, and once I got healthy enough and strong enough, I was going to go put to rest. I'm going to go visit the site of that crash. I wanted to see, I wanted to hear, I wanted to feel, smell, take it all in. I wanted to breathe it. I wanted to exercise those demons, if you will. So I got on my trusty motorcycle, packed it up for a couple days. I didn't really tell anybody where I was headed, but I started making my way across North Dakota, got into Montana, and when I got to Miles City, I kind of angled almost due west. And it was a really strange feeling because the terror really started to kick in again, because I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. Made my way up to Highway 2, across lots of wide open space. I'm telling you folks, it's crazy out there. Big skies. And as I got to the city, it's Harlem, Montana, I pulled in 7 in the morning and stopped in a little diner there and had breakfast. And was trying to figure out a way, how the heck am I going to find where all of this happened? How was going to know? So I just made casual conversation with the wait person there, asked her if she knew anything about a plane crash that happened in 1992. And she said, yep, sure do. Bad thing. And she just was really abrupt about it and kind of walked away. And I was eating and getting a little more teary-eyed. I'm thinking about it. And the waitress finally came back and she said, tell me more about what you know about it. And I told her my part of the story and my involvement in that situation. And she said, well, you actually happen to be in luck. The gentleman where the plane crashed, well, one of the planes crashed, he's sitting right over there. And he said, if you go over and talk to him, he'll likely tell you more about it. Holy Martha, my eyes got real big, and I was getting, like, you can imagine, really super emotional about this. And the fella came over to me, and he was a little younger than me, actually. He sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, you know what? Why don't you come out to the farm? Why don't you come out to the ranch house, and I'll show you around a little bit. And okay, absolutely. So he took me out there, and he started telling me this story. And what had actually happened is that the two pilots were in an area refueling mission. One got a little off course, changed altitude, changed headings, and they actually clipped wingtip to wingtip. And at the moment that it happened, there were two elderly ladies who were driving, who had crossed the border from Canada, driving down from this border crossing, 30 miles from the Canadian border in north central Montana, witnessed hellacious fire pouring from the sky, flames pouring down from 30,000 feet. They witnessed this thing. They thought it was, revelations. So they got out of their car, started praying, and things were literally falling around them. I didn't know this. And so he continued to tell me more stories. He said he was having dinner with his family in the T-tail section of the aircraft. And so you get an idea of this. These are gigantic cargo airplanes, cargo jets, 169 feet long, 30 feet tall, 170 feet wide. The T-tail section of it landed about 100 feet from his house with a thud. And they got out and they didn't know what the hell had happened. And it's dark and it's cold and they can see stuff happening too. So got in his truck and we drove around the property and he told me all about where they had found different parts of the airplane and people of the crew that I knew. They had found different people here and there. And he also told me, they didn't find one of the airplanes. They didn't find 7 of the bodies. Shit, really? That's why no one said anything 25 years ago. And he said, every spring when we are planting wheat, go and dig up after heavy rain, he goes, we'll come out to this spot. He goes, we'll always find pieces of the airplane every spring because it had landed with such impact that it drove so many chunks of the aircraft, the airframe, pops up. And he said, and I think I can see some over there. And literally, it's like bionic eye, right? I'm looking out and I can see a structural rib from the airplane sticking out of the ground. Get out and I run, jump across the barbed wire fence. I run over there and I pull this thing out of the ground. Speechless, crying. Fantastic thing. A healing moment for me. And I look around and there's another 6 or 7 different pieces of hand palm size. And I pick these things up and we take it back to his ranch house. And I'm having a moment and he says, look, I got one other thing to show you. Okay. I said, I don't care what what happens. I'm actually taking a couple of these pieces home. And he said, yeah, that's fine. Just do it. And he takes me into his shop and I'm really not truly expecting anything. And I'm looking at tractor parts and solvents and grease guns and all sorts of doodads that you would find on a wheat farm. And he says, look up. And I look up at the back of this Quonset hut. their lives attached to the wall, still flying. You know, on the back of an airplane, they always put the American flag painted on there with the tail number. The people who had recovered the airplane against official orders in practice cut out with a blowtorch, cut out the empennage, and gave it to him. And in a moment, a tortured man was healed. And if there ever is a sure thing in this world, the flag still flies.